Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. In this audio podcast series, the Erudition of Colladax. This is a Colladax. This is a Colladax rupture. This is an audio podcast in line to the Colladax feature. This is the Colladax feature 5. This is a child edition and an evidence. An evidence-based perspective. This is an audio podcast aligned to another Storm Robotics production. This is an audio podcast in around personal in around personal a work in around a sort of an overview if you like in around a workshop that took place sort of retrospectively in around personal effectiveness from 2020. so so there sort of retrospectively in 2020 there was this workshop. There was this workshop in around sort of time aspects around aligned to time management and personal effectiveness. Here there was a general sort of a learning about sort of plans on sort of developing sort of making plans, recognizing people work differently, and being agile enough to manage sort of workloads. Here there was a learning about managing priorities in times of stress, increasing effectiveness, how to increase productivity, and and manage and sort of manage time efficiently. The workshop, this particular workshop, or the workshops here sort of also provided sort of an insight sort of retrospectively on how priorities should be focused through time management. There was a general learning on the importance of maintaining a sort of a priority a link between time management and also productivity. The workshop was useful. The workshop highlighted that, for example, panicking is counterintuitive, and it is more effective to break tasks down and prioritize, especially where there is time sensitivity and urgency. There was a learning in around how it's important not to get distracted and use time effectively. Resilience and thinking styles, and maintaining something that has been referred to that was referred to in the workshop sort of retrospectively as sort of the as sort of mental agility or mental wealth. Um, there was a learning in around sort of time management, again time management, personal effectiveness, and how these are important in utilize as utilizing resources to sort of master aspects in around achieving work goals. In following, there was a basis to implement sort of Gibbs cycle again from 19 Gibbs cycle from 1988, and because of its cyclic nature, the Gibbs model from 1988 sort of prompts to help revisit sort of aspects aligned to sort of feelings, evaluate and analyze and conclude and sort of at the same time sort of action plan and experience and experiences sort of implement aspects of experiences where work and where, for example, in context of academia, for example, where work and research can overlay or overlap. There was an intro. I joined this workshop in around personal the personal effectiveness workshop or workshops. There was a basis. There was a basis again. How in how and how in how there was an overview of during particular work priorities, sort of retrospectively from 2020, how there was an introduction to, for example, two cloud-based project management toolkits or tools or toolkits, and how both of which were at the time at the time were quite where there was some unfamiliarity. Initially, it was where there was a sense of weariness on using these sort of project management sort of cloud based systems. But I recalled on, but again, there was a recalling on the EI workshop or the emotional intelligence workshop, and learning how again quick wins and in around quick wins and increasing productivity. So there was in around this there was a basis where there was a sort of a learning in around dividing tasks and projects into smaller parts, thus making them sort of more manageable, and how cloud and also where cloud software or cloud-based toolkits sort of and how cloud-based software at least the cloud-based software or toolkits that had been introduced and could be used on smartphones on a smartphone as well. So the action through this particular workshop on personal effectiveness, there was a sort of a learning around action planning or planning, and how this have been used, and how and how through planning, there had been a sort of an encouragement to use cloud, the sort of cloud-based toolkits or project management toolkits, much like in a similar way to electronic diaries through a smartphone, to help keep organized and keep a note, for example, keep a notepad to transcribe information, and to integrate projects and workflow and working electronically has sort of had prompted a sort of a basis, at least in part as a sort of a behavior change in context of efficiency. In around this, in around this at the same time, in around this at the same time, in around this at the same time, there was another sort of reflective a sort of model that had been identified. Um, this particular model is referred to as the Schon model, the Schon model from the Schon model from 1991, where um, where where Sean where Sean where Sean the Sean model from 1991 is a particular reflective model that unlike, for example, the Gibbs model, which is from 1998, which is a cyclic reflective model. The Sean model from 1991, the Schon model from 1991 is rectangle, it is divided in two parts. Number one sort of a reflect where the, where the Schon model has a reflection in action, which works on getting to the bottom of what is happening during a process, a decision making, and feeling at a time of an event or interaction. And number two, where the Schon model works for example, sifting over a previous event to take into account new information or theoretical perspectives available in conjunction with processes, feelings and actions. Implementing this particular model have been quite useful because of its against for example, the Gibbs cycle from 1998. The Schon model from 1991 has more directness. So implementing this particular model had been useful or helpful because of its directness. And it was realized that at the same time it was realized at the same time that the that where there had been a sort of a sort of a sort of a basis where from sort of from organizing from an organizing perspective, or organizing aspects or organizing perspective, it was realized that generally generally, irrespective irrespective of industries and experiences, people generally revert tend to revert to what they know in context of particular toolkits, in context of organizing and planning. So this was quickly realized as part of this personal effectiveness workshop. However, um, at the same time uh, that the traditional methods of managing workloads the traditional modalities and sort of methods of managing workloads was or had been impeding on personal time, had been impeding on personal times. And through particular sort of cloud-based technology, toolkits allows a sort of a tracking of updates and prioritizing better use of particular better use of particular aspects of time, but also in context of prioritizing between different sort of projects and different aspects of different against different sort of priorities as well. So I learned during this particular workshop, there was a learning for example, to seek help from collaborators or colleagues, if and where for example necessary. Focus on aspects focus on aspects sort of smarter, and also where it's important to be, where efficiency is and should be part of sort of part of sort of goal setting. Effective effective time management also helps sort of make sure that that priorities are focused. The Schon model from 1991 also prompted and encouraged to become sort of more effective, and focus on delivery of particular projects after learning particular theoretical concepts. The Schon model from 1991 also prompted to appreciate sort of being able to sort of develop particular strategies around particular priorities, and also make decisions about make decisions sort of prospectively in conjunction with workflow. Being involved between work and research had been a basis in around appreciating the importance of timekeeping as well. Team meetings, where team meetings have sort of taken place, at least in part, have helped move particular ideas into action. And having learned about sort of what's being referred to as the SMART acronym, which is abbreviated, which is an acronym to specific, manageable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. There was a sort of a learning in around sort of planning and preparation. So the workshops in around personal effectiveness, for example, were also sort of useful for sharing and organizing, for understanding sort of sharing and organizing, and also ensuring that sharing and organizing is linked to particular aspects aligned to research and work efforts. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This has been an audio podcast short in around this audio podcast series, this audio podcast short series in around the Erudition of Colladax. This is a Colladax rupture, and this audio podcast is aligned to the Colladax Feature 5. This has been another Storm Robotics production, and a chartered edition, and an evidence-based perspective. Thank you.